So let's move forward, people. Let's talk about lists. Okay, so what are lists? Lists are, as in our daily life, we use lists, right? I make a list of all the things I need to buy. I make a list of all the work tasks that I have to do. I have to make a list of all the guests who I want to invite. The same way, in in Python, list is a collection of items. These items can be of same data type, they can be of different data type. So I can store integer, float, string together as different items of a list. And why do we need this? Whenever we deal with data, right, we get data, let's say in form of Excel file or a CSV file. You have a column which has the name of all the customers, all the products. Okay, and I want to do some manipulation on the whole column. So this whole column will be stored as different items in a list. Okay, all its values as different elements in a list. And we can do processing on all the items together. So that is the usage of list. Again, probably you do not, again, as I told you yesterday, not use lists as such in its raw form, but when you start using numpy and pandas library, which are advanced libraries written on these basic commands, you will use probably another data structure called data frame, which is extensively used in pandas library, but in data frame, the basics are coming from the list. Okay, so we will see when we'll talk about pandas, but whatever the things that we can do with lists, it can be done very easily there in data frame also. Okay, again, Neha, the PPT and video, if you have not received from yesterday's session, you will be receiving it today. I will not share it, Neha. It's the upgrade people. They process the video and they put it somewhere and send you the link along with the PPT, as well as I will be sending you a few more resources for your practice purpose. Most probably you will get this today. Great. Okay, so what is list? A collection of different objects or variables ranging from strings to lists themselves. So you can have list within lists also. Okay, and it's a sequence of comma separated values between square brackets. For example, list of fruits. This is how you define them. You can also put variables in it also. Okay, you use square brackets to define a list. Okay, and then you can do various operations on lists, how you access different elements, how you delete elements, how you can concatenate two lists, how you can update a list, find out its length, and you can repeat the elements of the list also very easily. Okay, let's see how you can do all of these things. Let me share my full screen with you so that I can take you to the, again, people, I have created this Jupyter notebook already with the documentation to save time. All these cells are marked down cells. And for your better understanding, I have already given subheadings, headings of the topics that I want to cover. And I'll be sharing this notebook at the end of the session with you. Okay, so let's start. So lists along with dictionary are perhaps most important data types. List can store mixed data type and they also remember the order of the elements. Okay, a list contains items separated by commas. So let's create our very first list. So I'm giving it a name, let's say products, and I'm defining it Nike shoes. Okay, and let's say Reebok shoes. These are the products in my inventory on my website, Adidas shoes. Okay, and that's it. Because we are using square brackets and I'm putting the elements comma separated, it has created a list. If you want to check, Let's just find out the type of products. And it is a list. There are a few built-in functions for lists. Let's try that. Length of products. So there are 3 elements in this list. The same logic of positioning. Remember we talked about strings. Every character has a position defined internally. Similar way in lists, every element has a position defined for it. The very first element is at 0th position. This is at first position and this is at second position. So if I give something like this, I'm trying to find out the first element of the list and it's going to return me Nike shoes. Okay, again, I can do reverse indexing also. So if I try to do something like this, so people, can you tell me what will be the output of this cell? Everybody should be clear about reverse indexing also. Stephen, this is JSON script. This is not JSON script. This is Jupyter Notebook that I'm showing you. Okay, so I have created this Jupyter Notebook. Its name is this Python Basic Session 2 Slot 1. I have created this by doing this. File, new notebook, Python 3. Okay, I have changed its name and then I have created markdown cells and I have created something like that, Python day 2. And then another markdown and so on. This is how I have created this Jupyter Notebook. Hope this is clear, Stephen. Great. Okay, so somebody has replied Nike shoes, Hardik. This is not true. So when we are saying -2, this is at -1 position. This is at -2 position. Okay, so it should return Reebok shoes. Great. And then we can do slicing also, the same thing that I have told you yesterday. Okay, so let's try this. So can somebody tell me what will be the answer of this? Yes, so again, repeating the concept. This is the start position, this is the end position, and people remember the last index is not included. So we are starting with the first position, which is Reebok shoes. We are going to Adidas shoes, but we are not including Adidas shoes. So the answer of this will be only Reebok shoes. Okay, great. So people spend some time trying different combinations and get a feel of how you can do indexing and slicing in even for lists. It's the same concept as was for strings. Rina, why Python allows both this and this? Okay, so what we are doing? I'm using here the string data type, right? And if you remember from our yesterday's discussion, strings can be defined either with small single quote or double quote. So it does not make any difference. So you can use either of this. It's the string data type. It has nothing to do with list. Whatever we have learned for string data type, the same thing applies here. How do we obtain only Reebok from Reebok shoes? We will see how we can do it. Just wait. While doing slice, we are getting output in list format. Further, it's like, yes. So when you do indexing, people, indexing means I just want to get one element out of it. So one element. So that's why it is only showing the element without any list. When we are doing slicing, slicing means we are trying to get a sub list out of a list. Even if it's one element, we are getting sub list. That's why it is showing it as a list. Yes. So if we try something like this, people, -2 to 0, again, the same logic that I have told you. So we'll start with -2. What is -2? -1, -2. So Reebok shoes, and end at 0th position, because you cannot go back. It always goes forward. So this is going to return. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to give you an error, but it's not able to find this particular sublist going by this logic. So it's going to return empty list. Yes, Naisha, just wait. I'm going to show you that this example also. Okay, great. So let's move forward. Let's look at some of the other things that we can do on lists. Okay, so again, as I told you with strings, the star is used for repetition. So if I do something like this, it's going to return me. It's going to repeat all the elements and it's going to return me the list after duplication. Okay. Oh, Binju, so it goes sequentially, right? It doesn't go back. So what is the starting position here, Binju? So we're going to start from -2. So this is -1, this is -2, and it always goes forward. It always looks forward. It does not go back. So starting -2, ending 0. But 0 is, there is no 0th position here anywhere. So it cannot go back. So it finds that it is not able to find anything between -2 and 0 going sequentially. That's why it returns an empty list. No, slicing also takes negative index, Damodar. So let's try this one, people. -2, -1. So we are starting with -2. We are going till -1, but we are not including -1. Last index is not included. So this is going to return Reebok shoes. Damodar, hope this is clear. It's a logic that we are building. It goes by that, not by reverse or forward indexing. It just thinks like this, going forward, and I'm going to start, I'm going to end. Yes, it always goes forward. Yes, even in the reverse indexing, it's just giving you reverse indexing, just giving it a position to start and end. Its default behavior is it always go forward. But again, you can change this behavior also. And let me show you that thing also, people. Okay, so by default, its behavior is, right, to move forward. But you can change this behavior by giving it steps. Remember, people have talked about steps. So let's say I'll start from 0, I'll go till end and give me step of 2. Okay, so people, what do you think it will give you? Can somebody tell me? No. So remember, people, we start from 0th position, go till the end. But I'm going to return every second. I'm going to take a step of 2. So every time I'm going to jump on the second element. Remember yesterday we talked about even numbers, odd numbers? Same way. So I'll start with Nike shoes. I'll return this. Then I jump to the second position, Adidas shoes. Because I have not given the end index, Okay, so it's going to go all the way till the end. Okay, and if I don't give a specific index for the last element, it's going to include that also. So it's going to return Nike shoes and Adidas shoes. Okay, but let's try this one. So start from beginning, go till end, and do -1. So what do you think, people, this should give you? So -1 will jump back. Yes, it's going to give you reverse list, people. So I'm going to start with 0th, but because it checks the step also. If the step is in negative, instead of giving Nike shoes, it's going to give Adidas shoes, then one step back, then one step back. Yes, Hardik, when you give specifically the last index, then the logic applies that it does not include last index. Let's give it a try. Okay, start from beginning, end at second, but it's not going to include the second. So if you think that, so what has happened? It has started from the beginning. It could not include, second one, right? Because we were doing -1. So this is the weird result, I think. Let me try with this. Yes, because I'm not including second. That's why it's not, while reverse indexing, it cannot include that, and it just stops there. Okay, so yes, people, try different combinations and then you will be able to understand it better. Yes, it will work with let's try -2. No, not with -2 also. Okay, but usually we use -1 only. That is to do reverse indexing. So -1 is going backward. By default, its behavior is going forward. But when you specifically say go -1, then you are asking it to go to the previous element. So what is the previous element of Nike shoes? So it goes round robin. So before it is Adidas shoes, the previous one. So it goes round robin way, in a cycle way. So that's why it gives you like this. Yes, it's also a little weird. So I'm saying start from the beginning and go till the end, but do in -1. Okay, so what is happening? It is yes, this is a little so give me the first position. Yeah, this one looks a little weird. Okay, so I don't know which logic they are using in this. Okay, so I'll look into this, the logic behind it. But again, people do not use minus indexing, as a daily thing, as a normal, regular thing. It because it gets a little confusing. Okay, so always use it when it should make sense. Okay, so most of the time -1 is used when we want to reverse the list going back. Okay, and again, you can try different combinations, but try that which should make sense. Naisha, uh, this is the source code for Python, right? If you want to look at what is the code behind, let's say, length and type function, that you can search on the net and you will find out the internal code behind length. But there is no internal code that which commands are running when we are running this line. There is that cannot be done. Okay, so try different combinations and try to figure it out what exactly it is doing. Okay. Sandeep is saying by default, this argument does not include second parameter, but there, as we were reverse indexing, it will not include first parameter. If you use, it should give result. Okay, so -2, then it gives. So we're starting from 0, going till -2 and reverse indexing. Yeah, give it a try. Okay. Again, it's not very important. The only thing you need to understand is this is goes backwards. Okay. And most of the time it is used to reverse the list. Okay, so try different combinations and try to figure it out what it is doing. Let's move forward, people. Let me create another list. Let's say cart items. It's an empty list. So if I run it, length of cart items, it's going to give me 0, right? So now let's start adding things to this list. Okay, we can use it many ways. One of the easiest way is using plus sign, remember? And that does the concatenation for us. So let's try this. Cart items is equal to cart items plus, let's say, socks and shoes. Okay, and I'm gonna find it out what it is doing. Okay, so plus sign can be used for concatenation purpose. Okay, and there are many other methods also to concatenate items, elements to a list. Okay, and these are the methods. So if you people remember, cart items dot tab is going to give you all the different methods of list. Okay, so these are the methods that you can apply on list. And I have also given here the URL, which talks about what are the functions available for list and what are the methods available for list. If you click on it, you will get their documentation as well as a little example of all the methods. Okay, so let's try some of the methods, the important ones. So besides using plus, okay, plus is a little expensive. Okay, so you are passing this list and concatenating it, and it is just creating another list. Okay, and overwriting the existing list. So it's an expensive, it's an expensive task here. Okay, so the better one is using something called append, which does not create a new list. Here we are creating a new list. Okay, so it will be a little faster one. Okay, so I'm going to use something called append. Okay, so cart items append, and I will give it an element, and it's going to append to this list. No, Stephen, looping we will be covering today. Okay, so people appends this element at the end. Let's try to append a few more things. Okay, let's try to append two elements. Okay, so wallet and shades. Okay, because these are two elements, I have to pass it in a list, otherwise it will give me an error. Okay, so let's try this, adding these two elements to this list. Oh, Ranjana, I'm just showing it to you. Okay, so let's try this one. Oh, what happened here? This is not what we wanted, right? Wallet and shade should be added not as a sublist, not as a nested list, but as two elements. But the functionality of append is it does not look at what you are passing it. It takes it as one element and it adds to the list at the end. Okay, so if you give it a list, it's going to add that as an element. It will not go inside the list and take the elements one by one. Okay, this is not how append works. So this is not going to solve our problem. So what I have to do, probably I have to look for another way to add multiple elements. So let's first fix this. I just want to get rid of this list. Okay, so there are many ways of doing it. One of the most commonly used way is using pop. What will pop do? Pop will pop out the last element of the list. So let's give it a try. Cart items dot pop. Okay, and let's look at cart items again, and you can see that now it has popped out the last element. Okay, Sharath, the difference between concatenation doing plus sign and append is that here I am recreating the list. And it's an expensive task. Let's say there are 10,000 elements in my list. So what I'm doing, I'm putting these 10,000 elements here, adding these two things here, and then creating another list with the same name. So I'm overwriting. So a lot of processing is going behind the scene. Okay, it's creating a new list. New list is creation is always a expensive task. So the better way is take the same list, do not overwrite it, just add something to the end while using append. So this is the better command when we try to add something to the list from the processing point of view. Sharath, hope this is clear. Great. Okay, so again, append can only append one element at a time. So this will not solve this purpose when I'm trying to add multiple elements to the list. So for that, people, we have another method called extend. Let's try the same thing here. Cart items, instead of append, use extend. And in extend, I will give the same elements. So wallet, shades. Okay, let's run it. And this time it works perfectly well. So this is the question asked many times in interview also. What is the difference between append and extend? So extend, you pass it a list. In extend, it takes each element of that list and adds it as an individual element. Okay, append takes only one element, whatever you give it, and it adds it at the end of the list as one element. So whenever you want to add multiple things, you have to use extend. Okay, and then sometimes Is it like merging two lists? Merging two lists. So Abhijit, yes, in a way you can see that. I'm passing it a list and I'm extending the existing list with this list. Neha, the difference is, you see the difference here? This has added these two elements as one list. It took it literally, this as an element. Okay, so this is the difference, Neha. See the output here and see the output here. Great. Sometimes there is a requirement. Venkata, as I explained, the problem with plus is very expensive processing wise, as it is creating a new list every time. See, I'm creating cart items is equal to cart items. So it's creating this list every time. So imagine if there are 10,000 elements, it's putting those 10,000 elements again in the memory, giving it space, remembering its position, right? Yes. Pop is last in, last out. Okay. So extend will take each element of the list that I'm passing and add it as an element, as different elements. Then if you want to add something in between, Kamla, I will come to your question, okay, in a bit. So for that, we will use insert. So let's say insert. Let's say I want to insert an item called tie at the first position. So this is the 0th position. This is the first position. So I can give it something like this. So insert will insert at a specific position. Money, you did not run pop. That's the reason. Okay. Then again, as you can add things, you should be able to remove things, and we can use remove. Money, when you run cells in a different order while doing all of this, okay, so things become, little different. One solution is run cells all again. If you want to run every, cell in the sequence, and probably you'll get the result. Okay, and people, what I want you to do, if you're getting some issues, while doing coding, I don't want you to code along with me. You're going to miss the important things that I'm going to tell you, because you're thinking about the error that you are getting and you're trying different things. Okay, so just right now try to understand the things that I'm telling you. Later on you run this on your own, otherwise you're going to miss all these things. Okay, Vijendra is saying, can you change the position of the elements in the list? Yes, you can do that, but again, you need to ask the question, do I need it? Okay, list is just a collection of my customer name. If the customer name David is at the 10th position or the 8th position, does it make a difference? That is a question that you need to ask. And how you can change it? Again, people, it is how you can do it using indexing. So cart items at the first position, you want t-shirt, and at the second position you want shoes. Okay, so this is how you can do it. Venkatesh, I think internal implementation is linked list behind the scene. I'll double check. Okay, Yash, wait for that. Okay, wait for this thing. Okay, you cannot do it like this. It doesn't make sense. You need a dictionary for this, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, just wait. Again, remove will, you have to give the value and it will remove it. Let's say if you want to remove something by position, then you have to use something called delete, and this has a different syntax. You will learn it with practice. So del, delete will delete by position. So I'm gonna do del and cart items first position. Okay, so it's going to delete t-shirt for me. Okay, you can give slicing also here, and it can remove multiple elements from the list. Okay, you can create mixed data type also. Okay, so order list. Again, I'm just giving an example. 2000, product name or the cost is 2000, Nike shoes. Is there any discount on it? No. Okay, and you can create a mixed type data type list also, and all the operations that I told you work on this one also. Okay, so what is the type of order list? Second element, which is false, it's going to return. What do you think it will return, people? Naisha, remove will remove something. In remove, you pass the value of the element you want to remove. In del, you pass the position. Okay, yes, it's going to return boolean, bool. Okay, you can also do max min operations on list. So let's do, there is a list 2, 6, 9, 3. Okay, and you can do max of nums and min of nums, something like that also. You can also do nesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so let's try this one, people. What do you think this will return? Yes, it's going to return the first element, which is the 5, 6, 7 element at the first position, 5, 6, 7. Okay, you can try different slicing, dicing, reverse indexing here also. Okay, split and join. Many times we have to process a string and we want to process each word of the string. In NLP, we remove the stop words in a text. Stop words are is, the, and, because they are not the words which are specific ones. They are very regular words. So if that is a requirement, these methods come very handy. Let's say there is a sentence. Hi, Saf. This is to inform you that I am not well today. Okay, so let's say I want to do some processing on it. I want to remove the is, to, things like that. Okay, so what I can do, instead of processing this string, it will be better if I put every element in a list and then process it accordingly. Okay, so what I'll do, I will use something called split. So sentence.split will split it on space by default and put every element in a list. So words will be a list. And then, you remove stop words, and then whatever processing you want to do, you can do it there. Okay. By default, it splits it on space, but you can change this functionality also. So let's try to split it not on space, but on comma. Let's try that. So the only thing I need to change it, give comma here. And see, it has given you back 2 elements because it has splitted it on comma. You can split it on single quote and the other characters also. Okay. As you can split and done some processing, removed something, you should be able to join things also. Okay. So for joining, I will use something like this. So I want to join on space. So whenever I join, I want to put space while joining, and then I will join words. And let's say I'll put it in a new sentence. Okay, I can put something else also and it will work accordingly. Anything. Okay, moving forward, reversing list. Remember, the one way is using -1, the one that we talked about. Other way is using a method called reverse. Oops. L dot reverse. Oops. Yes, because we split it on comma. So comma was gone, right? When you joined it, you can either give it comma here and then it will work. It depends how you want to join it. If you want to join it with comma, join it with comma. Ranjana? Okay, so people, this is the difference. That's right, Siva. Okay, so there's another thing, important thing you notice here, right? So L dot reverse, okay, has changed the original list. So there are some methods which change the original list. So you have to be careful while using it because it's gonna change the original list. So that is another difference between method and function, people. Function will never be able to change the original list, but methods can change the original list. Some methods can change the original list. Okay, similarly, remember when we are doing extend, append, it's also changing the original list. Okay, so methods can, but function can never. Okay, so here also what we have done, L dot reverse has changed the original list. So if you don't want to do it, then use the -1 step. Instead of using this, you use the -1 step thing. That will keep the original list. So if you want to use reverse, make a copy of the original list, keep it somewhere, and then do reverse. -1. Remember the one that we told you? So instead of using L dot reverse, try this. L1 is equal to L -1. Okay, so L will also exist and L1 will be the new one. Okay, so people in Python, there are numerous ways of doing the same thing. So it's up to you which one you like and which one is, easy for you to implement. Okay, let's learn about a couple more things, people. Sorting, that is again a very commonly used operation. We want to sort the list. Let's try doing that. Let me take the same list and you can do L dot sort. Again, and again, it has changed the original list. Okay, if you don't want to do that, there is an alternate. Instead of using sort method, people use a function called sorted. Okay, so what we will do, instead of doing this, I will do something like this. Sorted of L, save it in L1. Yes, you can sort in descending order. Also, both the criteria, both ways. So here just give reverse is equal to true. Here also you can give it reverse is equal to true. Yes, Rohit, you can find out the ID or the index of the object. But again, do not lose your focus on the main task of a data analyst. As a data analyst, people, we are not bothered how these things are stored and has an object been changed? Is it memory location has changed? That's not our job. Okay, our job is to find patterns from the data, and I just need to store my data somewhere and do processing on it. How it is stored in the memory, or is the object changing or not, I'm not that much concerned. Okay, so please, people, keep that thing in your mind. You can try all these different things and try to find the nitty-gritty of its internal implementation, but that doesn't come most of the time in a day-to-day job of a data analyst. Yes. Sort is a method, sorted is a function. Sort method changes the original list, sorted does not. Reverse is equal to true, to sort in descending order. Yash, somebody asked me, can I sort my list in descending order? That's why I have given. Okay, you can always find the help of things, people, as I talked about yesterday. Put your cursor in that method and press Shift Tab, and it's going to give you the help. And if you can see here, reverse is equal to false is by default. If you change it to true, it's going to sort it in descending order. No, this is how they have coded this method. You have to go by this. Yes, by default, it's false. See, reverse is equal to false is by default. Sharat, you can give it false, but there is no need because that is the default behavior. Yes, Dev, pandas library, the code behind pandas library is different. Okay, somebody else has written pandas library and the internal codes of the methods is different. Hardik is saying, can we just pass it? Simple true false? I don't know, you can try it out. I don't think so. You know, whenever you define something, people, you have to follow some rules. It's not something like, okay, this thing comes to my mind, it should be like this, why it's not like this. No, when you define your own functions, people, you have to draw a boundary of how that function can be called with which parameters. Okay, it cannot be something on the fly. Okay, you think about it, why it's not like that. Whoever has coded these methods, they have to set some boundaries, right? It cannot be, you know, you think it like it should be true and false. I'm thinking, no, it should be like 0 and 1. Why true and false? Right? So 51 is, remember, Arvind, we talked about this in length. This is the starting position. This is the ending position. And I'm going steps -1. Okay, so the logic behind this is, people, when we give negative steps, it takes the starting position as this. As you know, this ending point becomes starting position and starting position becomes ending point. So we are starting from the very end, 9, and you know, I put 9 and then I goes one step back, 65. So this works like this. Neha, how you remember syntax? It comes with the practice. You put cheat sheets of all these things initially on your desk. Look at those day and night. When you work extensively, you know, on Python, it automatically comes to you. What happens when you sort a string? We talked about it, right? You cannot sort the string as such. There is no method sort available. You have to, you can use the same way, right, people? Remember? We have indexing in string also. So it's the same way. There is no sort function. So s dot, there is no sort method, I think. No. Okay, so this is the way around. No, Nirmal, Jupyter doesn't tell you the correct syntax. For that, you have to Google. Stack Overflow is an excellent website if you're getting any error message regarding syntax to solve it. Okay, so let's move forward, people. We have to cover a lot of ground. Another thing I want to talk about is shallow copying and deep copying. That's another question that is asked in interview. So let me show you that thing also. So let's say there is a list of fruits. Okay, and I create a copy of it. How do I create a copy? I simply say B is equal to A. So whatever is in A goes in B. Okay, and then people, what I do, I change the first element of A, let's say kiwi, and I look at A. Everything is absolutely fine. Let me look at B again. Okay, so what happened here, people? I did never changed B, but because I change A, it has changed B also. Because when I do B is equal to A, It is doing shallow copying. Shallow copying means it is not creating a duplicate data for B. It is just pointing B to this position where this data is stored. So any changes in A will be reflected in B also. So this is called shallow copying. Okay, so if you really want to create a copy, not a shallow one, okay, deep copy, you have to do something like this. Okay, I'm defining it again. Instead of saying B is equal to A, you have to say A dot copy. Or you can also say B is equal to A, something like this. This will also work. And this will create a proper copy. And then you change A, it has changed it. Let's look at B. Okay, so that is the difference between proper copying, where it is actually copying the data and storing it in B, with shallow copying, where we just simply say B is equal to A. Hey, B is just referring this A, not creating a copy. Okay, so these are some of the important methods and functions of list. Lists are extensively used, so I want you to spend quite a bit of time practicing all these things with different combinations of parameters. Okay, let me ask, let's say 1, 10, comma 2, comma 100, comma ZZ, comma AA, and let's say sorted L. Okay, so it's going to complain that you cannot sort a list which has integers and strings together. We can try this thing. It's going to take all of these things as strings now, and then it's going to sort it. So 10, 100, 2, AA, ZZ. Sharat, pay attention here. When you look at the output, you should be able to understand, right? Here I changed A, B was automatically changed. Here I changed A, B was not changed. That is the difference between shallow copy and proper copy. Sharat, do not code along with me if you're finding it difficult to follow. Okay, just pay attention to whatever I'm telling. You practice it later on. Okay, so people, this is how it works. Let's move forward. Let's talk about another data structure, people, called tuples. Okay, now tuples, what are tuples? Tuples are again a collection of elements. Then why, how it is different from list? Why we have tuples? Okay, so when you are storing important information in a list and using it somewhere else in your code, you run the risk of accidentally modifying the list and losing data or corrupting it. You know that list is updatable, right? We just saw that. Remember here what I did? I changed the list. I moved my t-shirt to shoes and shoes to t-shirt. So what does it mean that lists are mutable? Mutable means updatable. Okay. Let's say you have some data, which is a very important data. Let's say your customer name or customer mobile number, some important data, and you are storing it in a list. During the course of your Jupyter notebook, you never ever want to change the customer names. the content and the position. Okay, you want it to be static because you're going to use it, but you never want to change it. When you store this data in form of a list, there is always a chance that by mistake, you change the content. So if you want to avoid this thing, you knowingly save it in form of tuples instead of lists. That's where tuples are used. Okay, so tuple is a sequence of immutable Python objects, an unchangeable object whose state cannot be modified after it is created. Instead of square brackets, we use parentheses to define tuples. So you can imagine list as making noodles. You can add more salt, add more water. Okay, so you can change the ingredients, but for tuple, you think it like storing the latitude and longitude of your home, which will never ever change. So you want to store this information in tuples, not in form of lists. Because tuples are non-changeable, once you store it, system always know this is the place where it is stored, and access is pretty fast in comparison to list, which can change, and the elements are stored all the places in the memory. So it has to traverse more to get all the elements. But in tuples, because it's fixed, the access is a little bit more faster. Okay, so this is the use case of tuples. Let me show you this with an example. Okay, let's say city, and I'll create a list with parentheses. Okay, Mumbai. And let's say this is the latitude of Mumbai and this is the longitude of Mumbai. And never ever you want to change this content, this data during this Jupyter notebook. So that's why I'm storing it in city. Okay, so type of city, it's a tuple. Okay, and it doesn't have all the methods, it has only a few. So city dot only count and index. Okay, so you can't do append, extend, remove, delete, nothing like that. Okay, if you try to do something like this, let's try to change the latitude of Mumbai city. Okay, what will happen? It's going to give you an error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. Okay, so tuples are immutable. Yes, the round bracket, parentheses, we call those parentheses, Hardik. This differentiates whether it's a list or it's a tuple. Then comes sets. Okay, the indexing and slicing will remain the same. So you can do all of that thing. City of, from 0 to 2, you can do all of that. Okay, that will work. Yes, is it possible to? Yes, you can do that. Okay, so if there is an ever need, people, it should not be a regular thing. If you ever want to change something which is stored in tuple, you have to first convert it to list, change it, and then convert it back to tuple. Check, Naisha, you're putting a dot instead of comma after 18.99. Okay, so you can do it something like this. City list is equal to list of city tuple. Yes, it can still be valid scenario, but you should be very careful, because if you have stored something in tuple or somebody has stored it because of some reason, right? So be a little careful. No, it can't be. It can't be a valid scenario, Naisha. This is a float. is this the right data type? Have you ever heard about this data type 18.9? And you can, it's going to give you an error because there is no floating number with two decimals. You can always store it as a string. In a string, you can do whatever you want. Okay, in a string, but you have to give double quotes, right? In a string, you can save anything. Okay, great. So let's move forward, people. Sets. What are sets? Sets are again collection of elements. Now, why do we need them? Sets has the most common use case when we want to remove duplicates from a list or a tuple or any collection of elements. Sets are data structures which cannot have duplicates. So let's say I got a list of my customers. I know that some customers are repeating in it. I just want to get a unique list of my customers. One way is, probably build some logic, create a loop which will read each element, find it out if there is a duplicate. It will take ages if it's a big list. Another easy way is store that list in form of sets. It will automatically remove duplicates, then store it back to list. Okay. Another difference for sets is because list tuples are ordered sequence of elements. They have positions, right? 0th position, 1st position. In sets, it doesn't care. It's an unordered collection of elements. Okay, so you cannot do indexing, slicing in sets. Its main use case is to remove duplicates or to apply those features that we learned about sets in our high school. People, if you remember, union, intersection, difference, when you want to do something like that, only then you use sets. Okay, so let me just show you a very simple example. Okay, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, 5. Let's say these are my customer IDs. I just want to get a list of unique customer IDs. What will I do? I will just convert it to set. Okay, and look at this. Okay, it has removed duplicates and by default it sorts it also. So you'll get this. You can turn it back to a list and you are good to go. No, yes, sorted set. Yeah, it automatically sorts it. Okay, so you can either use set to define a set or you can use curly braces to define sets. Okay, let's define it. A set type of A is a set. Okay, so it has a few methods: add, clear, copy, difference, intersection, union. Okay, so let's try a few of them. A.add, you can add more things here. You can remove, okay. Other more common methods are union, intersection, and difference. Okay, so I just show you one example. Rest you practice it on your own. It's pretty easy to understand. So B is equal to, okay, and you can do A dot union B. Either you can do that or you can also do something like this: A pipe B. Okay, both will do the same job. Dave, I'm coming to that. Just wait. Okay, everybody, you should not only know the syntax of list, tuples, and sets and all other things, but The main thing you need to know is in which scenario, which thing to use. What is the difference between them? Yes, union all. I think there must be people. Just look at the documentation and check it out. Okay, a dot union. I don't know. A dot union all doesn't look like there is union all. Nope. Oh, union all is not possible because it's returning back a set, and set can never have duplicate value. So when we do union all, it has duplicate data, right? That is not possible in sets. That's why you cannot have union all. Yes. Shift tab is to check the documentation, people, and a dot tab is to look at all the methods of a particular variable. Okay, so Poonam, just wait. I'm coming to that, people. I have not started dictionary. Okay, so just wait for this thing. Okay, let's move forward. Dictionary. Okay, what is dictionary? Again, I will tell you the syntax and all. First, try to understand why we use dictionaries. Okay, so let's say, people, I'm giving you an example. I want to store my scores in different subjects in a list. I store it. Okay, in maths, I got 95. I'm very good in maths. Okay, let's say in English, I'm not that good. I got 78. In physics, I don't know, I got 87. In chemistry, okay, I got 88. Okay, something like that. Now, somebody asked me, tell me your chemistry score. Scores. Did I store it on second index or third index or fourth? I don't know. I don't remember. Isn't it a good way if I can store somehow with this also, like this is my score of maths, this is English, this is physics, this is chemistry. Okay, so instead of giving implicit indexing, remember what is the implicit indexing here? 0, 1, 2, 3. These are only 4 elements. Imagine there are 10 more elements in it, 10 more scores. Will I be able to remember at which index, which thing I stored? If that is the scenario, people, instead of giving implicit indexing 0, 1, 2, 3, I will give it explicit indexing, my own indexing. And if I ever want to do that, instead of storing my data in list, I will store it in form of dictionary. Okay, so in dictionary data type, in list, we have implicit index, which becomes hard if it's a big list and different type of data is stored in it. Okay, if it's customer name only, then I don't care if that customer is stored on 20th position or 50th position. I just want to get my name of all the customers. But if we store something like this, like my scores, like this bio data, then I will not remember whether the gender was at second position or third position. Instead of that, I will save it in form of dictionary, which has a concept of key and value. Key is my explicit indexing, and these are my values. The concept of 0, 1, 2, 3 is gone now. Everything is accessible using keys. So if this type of scenario is there, we use dictionaries. Okay, so let me give you an example of dictionaries. Okay, let me create a dictionary. Again, I will use curly braces. Now, how Python differentiate whether it's a dictionary or is a set? Remember, we use set also with curly braces. It looks inside the curly braces. If you give something like this, if you use colon here, okay, then it understands that you are defining key and value and takes it as a dictionary instead of set. Okay, so here the keys are name, age, okay, and values are Bob Marley, height is 5.6 feet. So it's of dictionary data type. Okay, dictionaries are mutable, so you can change things in it. Okay, sorry. Okay, you can find out length of dictionary. Okay, you can access the values using not 0, 1. If you give something like this, it's going to give you an error. Now you cannot use implicit indexing. You have to now use explicit indexing. Yes, Dave, you got it. Okay, you can edit values. Okay, it's this key dictionaries are mutable. Yes, implicit means which we don't define. By default, it is applying. Implicit word means that. Explicit, explicitly we are defining. Positions in dictionary say 0 to 3. Yes, there is no concept of implicit indexing in dictionary, so you can't do that. Think about it. Okay, and how it is storing? Is it storing age first or names first? In the memory, I don't care, right? I will always access it with the keys. How it is storing it inside, I don't care. No, Sampath, dictionaries are also pretty fast to process. Again, it depends on the requirement. If you have to, the requirement is that we have to store data like this, we have to use dictionaries, right? List and dictionaries are the most useful or usable data structures of Python. Okay, let's try to edit values. Let me change the age from 35 to, let's say, 36. You can do that pretty easily. Okay, you can add another key value pair. Let's add hobby of Bob Marley. Let's say music. Oops. Okay, you can also do update. You can also add and update together. Okay, using something called update method. So these are the methods that are available for dictionaries. Okay, and there is an important one called update. Update will take dictionary as a parameter. So let's say, let's add city as New York. And let's change a few things also. Let's say age has now become 37. So with update, you can add things, you can update things also. Yes, dictionaries are mutable. Okay. You can check presence of a key in dictionary. Okay, by doing have we added hobby in biodata, and this is going to return true or false. You can list entire keys and values using keys method. Keys will give you all the keys. Okay, you can change it to list and you'll get a better view. Similarly, you can use values. Yes, Sandeep, array is not a default data structure. For array, you need to import library numpy, and arrays will be explained to you in detail when in the numpy module. No, Dev, we cannot arrange keys in alphabetical order. Think about it. Do you ever need to do that? Is there a need to do that? Dictionaries we create so that we give keys to the dictionary. How it is storing it, alphabetical order? No, I don't care, because whenever I want to access the information, I just give the keys and it gives me the information. Okay, you have to think whether there is a need to sort it in ascending order. If there is, you then convert to a list and then sort that list if there is a requirement. But usually when we access data, our motive is to access the data and find information, try to find patterns out of it. How the keys are stored, in sorted order, I don't care. No, numpy and pandas will be covered in another module, Naisha. Next week, weekend topic, Naisha, we will cover functions, OOPS concepts, how to start reading data from files. Yes, you can do that, Vishak. Give it a try. Can we provide multiple names under name? Yes, you can do that also. Okay, I'll show you that example also in a bit. Okay, and the final method I want to tell you is delete values. So DEL, biodata and hobby, and this is how you can delete a key. Okay, so people, keys can be lists, values can be lists. You can always combine lists and dictionaries, tuples and dictionaries, sets and dictionary. The only thing is it should make some sense. Arvind.get method, you try it on your own. Look at its documentation and try to understand it. Okay, let's move forward, people. Let's talk about loops now. Why do we need loops? Sometimes we want to run the same logic multiple times. Let's say we want to convert all the elements of a list to uppercase. So there is no direct way. I have to read each element one by one, convert it to an uppercase, store it somewhere, another list probably. So when you want to run some code block multiple times, you use loop. There are two types of loops in Python, while loop and for loop. Let's understand those with an example. Okay, let's talk about for loop first. So the syntax of for loop is for counter. You can give it any name, people. I'm just giving it CTR. You can give it any name. Counter in range. Now range is another built-in function, very usable, which will give you the list of natural numbers. So when you say counter in range 5, so it's gonna give you it's gonna run this thing 5 times. So it's gonna return a list of 5 elements starting from 0. Okay, so it's gonna run this code 5 times. Print Python. Okay, let's run this again. This time, instead of printing Python, let's try to print counter. What is coming in counter? So this is a syntax. For is a keyword, in is a keyword. This is, you know, when you are running, this is the range on which you are running this loop. And in every iteration, the value of this list will be stored in counter. Okay, so here the range starts from 0. So you will get, the counter will get in the first iteration value 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. 5 is not included. So it's gonna give you this output. Yes, whole numbers. Counter is a placeholder. In every iteration, whatever value is in this, it holds it. Let me try it with this. For I in, let's say, a list, I'll define it 20, 30, 40. And then print I. So what it will do, I will first get value 20, then I will get 30, then I will get 40. Okay, print hello. Let's try this. No, so there is no begin and end. So people, after this writing this for loop, you have to put a colon. And after colon, when you hit enter, it automatically takes to the cursor after 5 spaces. And Python goes by alignment. Okay, so anything written in this alignment after 5 spaces will be considered under that for loop. As soon as we come out of, remove those 5 spaces, it's gonna understand that the loop has finished and now you are out of the loop. So it's gonna print done only once. Yes, you can use tuple or set, anything you want here. It just needs a collection of elements. Okay, range you can give, here we have given range only 5. Range can be also have starting point, ending point, and steps. The same concept. So I can start from 10, I can go till 15. I can do that also. So play around with it, give some steps also. All this will work. Any length for indent, it's I think 5 spaces. Nirmal, it's 5 spaces. Okay, you can loop on a string. It takes each character as for each iteration, it picks the character. Oops, not S. Looping on a list I have already shown. Yes, Poonam, that's valid. Okay, looping on a list I have already shown. Let me show you looping on a dictionary. Let's say we have students data. Let me define a dictionary. So roll number 1 is a key and the value is a list. Okay, so the name of the person is Shivam and his age is, let's say, 24. Okay, roll number 2 is the key and the value is, let's say, Udit and his age is 25. Okay, roll number 3, let's say Sonam, and let's say her age is 26. Okay, so this is my dictionary. How can I loop on my dictionary? I can do various ways. Let me show you that. So if I want to get both keys and values in my loop, I can do it like this. For K, comma, V. K and V are name of the variables. You can give it any name, people, you want in stu dot items. When you give stu dot items, it returns 2 things, key and value. It stores the key in K, V in value in V for each iteration. Let's print K, comma, V. Okay, and if you only want to loop through keys, you can do that also. Okay, so for that you just write for k in stu dot keys, only get keys. Okay, for values you just simply says values. PRM, the 5-space alignment is throughout Python. Okay, in C or Java, you give curly braces, for the opening and ending of function or of loops. Here, there is no need. With this indentation, it automatically understands it. Stu.items is a method of dictionary which returns two things, keys and value. Why values are giving keys? No, these are not keys and values. Hardeep, pay attention. This is only my value. My value is a list. Okay, if you only want names here, people, what you can do? Okay, let me just try to change it. Again, this is a list. If I only want to say name, name is at the first position. So I can give something like this, right? This is only going to give me name. So all the things that I have taught you goes along with this thing. You can apply all those things here. Okay, then we have while loop. Okay, so what is the difference between for loop and while loop? You can imagine it like this. For loop is like India going to play a cricket match with Australia, and they make the strategy to win the match beforehand, right? So in for loop, we know how many times we're gonna iterate, how many values are there in this dictionary. So we know ahead how many times the loop will iterate. So we are making the strategy before we go to play the match. In while loop, it's like going to play the match. Match has started and now you have to make the strategy to win it. So here we start the loop by giving some condition. Until unless that condition is true, the loop will keep going. So it's our job that inside the loop, we have to make that condition false. Otherwise, the loop will keep going indefinitely. Loop is serial processing, Stephen, by default. So loops are expensive. And later on, we'll see alternative to those, but it's important to understand loops also. They are building blocks for many advanced commands. Okay, so let's talk about while. So while count is, let me define a variable first. Count, again, you can give it any name, people. This is just a variable name. Count is 0, while count is less than 5. Print count. Okay, so in while we give a condition. Till that condition is true, the loop keeps going. So if I run this by mistake, what will happen? It will go in indefinitely. So you have to be very careful while using while loop. Okay, so most of the time we go with for loop. While loop are hardly used, but whenever you use it, make sure that in the logic you making this condition false somewhere. Otherwise, it's going to keep going on forever. So what I'm doing here, I'm increasing the count with every iteration. So first time it will be 0, then will become 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as it hits 5, this condition becomes false, it will come out of the loop. Nested loop. Sure, I'll give an example of that also, Neha. So people, let's create a loop for I in range, let's say 1 to 10, for j in range 11 to 15. Okay, so print I comma j. So what will happen? For 1, this loop will repeat it 5 times, actually 4 times. Okay, then for 2, this loop will be repeated. So let me give 4 here. Okay, so what will be the output, people? 1 11, 1 12, 1 13, 1 14, 2 11, 2 12, 2 13, 2 14, and so on. Okay, plus equal, people, I told you this yesterday only. Assignment operator, you people have not practiced it. We talked about this yesterday. It means same as writing this. It's a concise way of writing this thing. Okay, hope this nested loop thing is clear. Again, we will do more of these things later on, but this is the concept. So for the first iteration, this loop will go this many times, the inside loop. No count plus plus, Shubhi. This is the alternate to count plus plus. Okay, let's move forward, people. List comprehension. Okay, let's try to understand what are comprehensions. When we have large amount of code, to make code more concise and small, comprehensions can be used. Comprehensions are extremely useful in terms of the readability of the code. Again, whatever we can do with comprehension, it's not a new thing. That can be done with normal code also. The only benefit of comprehension is it makes the code more concise. How? Let me show you that with an example. Okay. Let's say I have a list. Okay, I want to create a square of the first 10 natural numbers. Create a list of squares of first 10 natural numbers. How can I do that? Okay, so I can do something like this for num in range 1 to 11. That will give me the list from 1 to 10. Then what I'll do, I will create a list. Okay, so first let me initialize a list, empty list, and then what I can do, L dot append num. So what it is doing, it is appending not num raised to power 2. Okay, so I'm defining an empty list. I'm going through the first 10 natural numbers. You can give it any list or anything here. And then I am appending with each iteration square of 1, square of 2, square of 3, square of 4, and so on. Okay, and let's run it. Let me print L. So this is what we need. So I'm creating a list and then appending it like that. Now this is, let's say, 4-line code. It can be achieved in 1 line using comprehensions. How? I will start with a list because I want to return a list. Okay, so I'll start with an empty list. Inside that, I'll write return num raised to power 2 for num in range 1 to 11. That's it. So comprehensions are way of writing the code in more concise and small way, and many times it increases the readability of the code. You will not be able to understand this that much, but immediately this makes more sense. So we are looping through range 1 to 10 and returning the square. Yes, they are a little bit faster than writing code like that. A little bit efficient. A little bit efficient, but better readability. Okay. Similar way we can do dictionary comprehension. I'll give you that example with the code later. Let's move forward. We have a couple more things to cover before we. Now let's talk about if then else statement. That is used a lot, like in our daily life. If this is this, do this, else if this is this, do this, else do this. Same logic here, nothing new, nothing complicated. Okay, so let's say I have data about, let's say, my customer age. Okay, and I want to build a logic that if customer age is less than 18, print minor. And people, again, the same logic. If is a reserved word, then you put the condition, then put the colon. It will automatically align it here. So whatever you write here, so print minor, and then you write else if, not else if, elif. Elif means else if customer age is less than 60, print adult. Else, now you can write many else if, else if, else if, else if. At the end, else. Else, you need not to give a condition. Print senior citizen. Oops, I did not run this. If I change to 85, if I change it to 5, no case or decode Sandhya in Python. If you import any library and the library has these things, then it's there, but by default, built-in, no case or decode. Okay, so if conditions with string, with list, I'll give an example. I'll put the example. It's pretty easy to understand. Okay, and if condition with strings, you can also say. So let's say coffee is bad, and then you can say if bad in string, print bad review, something like that. Okay, so you can have if statement without elif, without else also. You can have if statement with else also. Okay, so all combinations are possible. Oops. Neha, I'll talk about map and reduce in the third session. Yes, we can remove the last else also, and it will work perfectly. Yash, no elif in comprehension. Okay, you can use if you want. Okay, let me just show you that if anybody is interested. Okay, but again, as I told you, you should never make if the logic is complex, never put it in one line. You yourself, after 2 months, when you look at your code, you will not be able to understand. Okay, so you can write the same thing. Okay, but something like this. So you return the square, okay, only if I is less than 5, something like this. Okay, so it's simply as writing for num in range this, if I is less than 5, then return the square. Oops. For num in range this, if I, oh, not I, not I, it's num. Okay, but if it's you cannot write elif else here, only if. Okay, so this is the usage of if then else. So people, a simple code for I in range 10. So it starts from 0, go till 9. Print I. Okay, no problem here. Print from 0 to 9. Now, let me change it a little bit. Let's say there is some exception happens. So if I is equal to 5, some exception happens. And I want to break my code. When I say break, it will break, it will come out of the loop. Okay, so it's printing 1, it's printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as it's 5, it breaks, come out of the for loop and print done. Okay, why do we need this? Many times in our business, let's say we are processing credit card transactions. The company policy is any transaction more than 1 lakh, we should stop the processing of rest of the transaction, but this because this exception should never have occurred. Okay, so if amount is more than 1 lakh, break, come out of the loop. Send some SMS message or some email to concerned person that this exception has happened. Okay, so that's why we use break. Let's run it. So as soon as it hits 5, it broke, it come out of the loop. Now let me run the same code now with continue. What does continue mean? It will not run processing of that iteration and continue to the next iteration. So here what we mean is when the amount is more than 1 lakh for this particular transaction, do not process it, but then go to the next iteration, next transaction and continue processing it. Do not break the whole loop. Only for this iteration, do not run any code written after it. So what will happen here, people? It will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It will not print 5 because I'm saying continue when it hits 5. It's going to go to 6 and print 6, 7, 8, 9. No, Stephen, that thing will be automatically taken care with the pandas library. So we will talk about that later. But behind the scene, they're storing the column in a list. Each column is stored as a list. You will not see the raw list. There will be advanced data structures, but that is the logic. If there is one more condition after break and I become 4, will it go up? If one more condition after break and I become 4. I'm not able to understand. Prasad, you write the code and then try it. Not able to understand, then send me the code. Okay, so people, this is continue, right? And then the last one is pass. Okay, pass will not do anything. It just acts as a placeholder. Okay, so what will happen many times, let's say in the organization, they know that when the transaction is more than 1 lakh, we have to do something. What to do? Business has not decided yet. So as a developer, I don't want just ignore this thing that if transaction is more than 1 lakh. I'll code it and I'll just put a placeholder there so that every time I look at the code, I'll remember that business has to decide what to do if this exception occurs. So I'll just put it as a placeholder here as pass. Okay, if you run it, it will print everything, but it will act as a placeholder. Okay, that is the difference between break, continue, and pass. Pass is just a placeholder. Okay, if I don't give pass, it's going to give me an error that you have not written anything under if. Okay, but I don't want to delete if, right? This is an important information on which business has to decide something. So instead of this, I'll write pass and my code will not give an error. Pass is a keyword. It's a reserved keyword. Okay, I want you to think about these three commands deeply. Okay, so when you are going through the recording, pause, think, try different things, and make sure that you fully grasp this idea of break, continue, and pass. Okay. Yes, if I want to do anything between if, then I can add. Yes, you can do whatever you want. Okay. Anything after this, between this. Okay, you can do anything, whatever you want. For all, break, continue, pass. You can do whatever. It's the logic that you will build. Siva, if I remove pass, if statement, then it doesn't make much sense, right? Okay, so if I run this, this is absolutely fine. If I put pass here, it's absolutely fine. You know, I just a placeholder, probably I'll write something else there. Okay, so it just acts as a placeholder. Here it doesn't make much sense, but here it makes more sense to put pass, right? Because we know that when some exception has occurred, if something is true, then I have to put some code here. So this here the placeholder makes sense. You can put it as such anywhere, Okay, people. So with that, I come to the end of the session. Okay, let me launch the poll, people, and session poll. I'm still here for next 2-3 minutes answering your queries if you have any. But let's just take a pause here and fill up the feedback. Arvind, I will, add the dictionary comprehension example. Hold on a second. And I'm hoping you have liked the session. I have again tried my best to cover as many things as possible and answering all the queries also, and still try to explain it in an easy manner. Okay, so just look at this code, people, and try to understand it. Okay. Yes, 5 is high. People, 5 is high. Why there is this confusion? I don't get it. I will ask them to make it more clear. Vijendra, get the yesterday's notebook from one of your batchmates. I shared the link yesterday. Anyway, you will get all the resources in through upgrade also. But I share the code immediately, and because some people just want to play around with the code. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and patience. I'll see you for the third session next Saturday, same time, same place. So Sampath, continue is only for that iteration, do not run the code. Pass will not do anything, it will act as a placeholder. Okay, please go through the recording when you get it. Think deeply, you will be able to get this idea. Okay, try with different examples. Look for the examples on the net and you will be able to get it. Yesterday's notebook. Okay, people, let me share that one also. People, be a little, conscious about staying till the end for the session so that you don't miss any part. Okay, somebody is sharing. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kamla. Okay, people, I'll see you next Saturday. Till then, goodbye. Take care.